Who has seen an advertisement that has convinced you that your microphone is listening to your conversations? All of your interactions, your credit card swipes, web searches, locations, likes, they're all collected in real time into a $1 trillion a year industry.
The real game changer was Cambridge Analytica.
They'd worked for the Trump campaign and for the Brexit campaign.
They started using information warfare.
Cambridge Analytica claimed to have 5,000 data points on every American voter.
I started tracking down all these Cambridge Analytica ex-employees.
Someone else that you should be calling to the committee is Brittany Kaiser.
Brittany Kaiser, once a key player inside Cambridge Analytica, casting herself as a whistleblower.
The reason why Google and Facebook are the most powerful companies in the world is because last year data surpassed oil in value. Data is the most valuable asset on Earth. We targeted those whose minds we thought we could change until they saw the world the way we wanted them to. I do know that their targeting tool was considered a weapon.
There is a possibility that the American public had been experimented on.
This is becoming a criminal matter. When people see the extent of the surveillance, I think they're going to be shocked.
And I still fear for your life.
Yeah.
With the powerful people that are involved.
But I can't keep quiet just because it'll make powerful people mad.
Data rights should be considered just fundamental rights.
This is about the integrity of our democracy.
These platforms which were created to connect us have now been weaponized. It's impossible to know what is what, because nothing is what it seems.
The world will change more over the next 10 years than it has over the past 50. Climate change has become a climate crisis. And over the next 10 years, it might become a climate meltdown. Economic power is shifting from the West to the East. And there is political instability both at home and abroad. I believe very strongly that if we're to face these challenges and to resolve them, then data will be absolutely crucial to that. But the reality is that data has become a dirty word. The public are concerned about how their data is used. They're concerned about the security of their data. They're concerned about how their data is exploited. And they're concerned about being under surveillance. There isn't a day that goes by in my job where I don't talk to somebody about data, where I don't talk to somebody about how data can help them to target audiences better, about how data can be used to serve more effective creative. But the bad press and the name of data has made me really question myself and ask this question, which is, am I a bad person? Am I part of the problem? And it's this word in particular that runs counter to everything that I believe in. I believe that everybody has the right to privacy. It is a fundamental human right. And it would be completely counter to everything that I believe to think that what I did was surveillance. And you saw this in the trailer that I showed, that word surveillance come up 3 or 4 separate times. And I just don't think that that accurately paints what I do. Surveillance is the careful watching of a person or place. And in digital advertising, we don't do that. We don't do it because what we do is we aggregate data sets. We look at common themes and we aggregate data. And by doing that, we also make that anonymous. So whilst there's a lot of conjecture out there which is about digital advertising putting people under surveillance, I do not believe that that's true. What is true, however, is that data has been exploited and it has been used for the wrong purposes. But I think that's true of every commodity. You could look at water, oil, gas, and you could find people that had exploited those for dangerous purposes. The issue isn't data. The issue is people and the way that some people exploit data. And it's without a doubt that that exploitation of data has led to changes in our society. It helped get President Trump elected, and it helped drive the result of the European referendum. But this isn't anything new. Whenever new mediums come about, whenever there's new ways to engage and connect with audiences, people always exploit that medium, and it always drives change in society. When the industrial printing press came about, it helped to drive the French Revolution. The Nazis very carefully used radio to share their evil message. And there isn't a presidential candidate over the past 50 years that hasn't used smear ads, attack ads on television. So what can we do about it? How can we stop people exploiting data and using it for the wrong purposes? I think it comes down to us and the way in which we behave. And if we want data to be a force for good, we have to lead from the front. And for me, that means leading by 4 clear principles. The first is to be clear with how we're using data. The second is to make sure that any data we are using is secure. The third is to make sure that we're using data to be helpful. And the fourth is that when we use data, we use it and we're honest with the messaging that we go to market with. So be clear. Make sure your audience knows what you're collecting and how it will be used. And crucially, I think for most people, for most businesses rather, this means making that clear in plain English, not using legal jargon that nobody understands. The second is be secure. And if you want to be secure as an organization, then you need to make sure that data security runs through your organization. Data breaches typically happen because somebody does not follow a process internally. The third, be helpful. Use data to aid, not obstruct. My biggest bugbear about digital advertising is that data is so often used to serve people ads which are frankly annoying. Annoying ads aren't successful ads. Helpful ads are successful ads. The fourth is to be honest. Use messaging that resonates but doesn't mislead. We can use data to serve messaging which really resonates with people, that makes a connection, but we must not use it to take advantage of them. The key to these principles is that we all make this concerted effort. The challenge with data at the moment is it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, where nobody wants to make the first move to be more secure, to be more clear, to be more helpful, and to be more honest. And we have to show some leadership in this area. And the reality is, if we don't show leadership in this area, then people like Alexander Nix, like Steve Bannon, and like Dominic Cummings will set the agenda for how data is viewed by the public. And so I really do believe that data is an important force for good. But I think it's down to everybody to make sure that it's used in the right way. And I think if we use it in the right way, those headlines that are negative and that scare the public will change to positive headlines. They'll change to headlines like, how the average age has increased because of improvements that data has driven in healthcare, how education levels are higher because of data, and perhaps even how data has helped to resolve the climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damien. A fascinating topic. We've got a couple of minutes for questions. Remember, please do put your questions in if you have any on Slido. If you take a seat, Damien, on SLI.do, and it's Incubeta Ignite. A couple of questions have already come in. If you have any more, please put them in here. Otherwise, speak to Damien afterwards. So one question we've got here is it really ethical to use data for advertising, or are we kidding ourselves?
I think... oh, my microphone. Oh, it's back on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can absolutely be ethical for advertising as long as you follow the 4 principles. You know, that's the most important thing. People have to know what data you're collecting and why you're using it. And in fact, actually, if you use data in the right way, it can make the experience much better for customers. And so I actually think that, yes, using data in the right way can be very ethical in advertising.
It can be, okay. Is it too optimistic to think that there will be a world where people don't exploit data? Or oil, for that matter?
Yeah, I think it's optimistic to think that people will never exploit data, but it's also optimistic to think that people won't exploit other media forms. You know, there's very large newspapers in this country that are exploiting people with news all the time. Mm-hmm. I think the reality is that you need to set the agenda in the same way that the news has, that data can be a force for good in the same way that newspapers largely are.
James O asks, Damien, can you imagine a kite mark style ratification of companies that adhere to your principles that you spoke about?
Yeah.
Yeah? IAB or someone?
Yeah, I think that I mean, to be honest with you, I think that's probably the most logical way in which that happens, is that a group like IAB helps to drive this change, because I think, you know, at the moment it is a bit of a cat and mouse game where everybody is afraid to move because having a stricter data policy internally puts them at a disadvantage compared to their competitors. So I think a group does need to take control of it.
And in 10 seconds, who do you think is leading the field in taking a stand and using data right and not breaking the rules and really doing it properly?
I think Apple are doing a lot. You know, I think that they're the ones that are making the headlines.
Right, one word answer. Were Cambridge Analytica really bad guys, or are they just very effective at utilising data? Final question.
So knowing specifically what they did, they clearly and obviously broke the rules.
Yeah.
So yes, they were bad people.
Very good. Thank you very much, Damien. Very good. Thank you very much.